7, where we're here to answer all your garden questions and get you growing and get you going. Yes, I hope you guys had a fantastic week. It was a cold one. This week, indeed, we saw temperatures well below seasonal, not only in southern Ontario, across the prairies as well, and even into the east. Cold conditions that really many areas didn't have a snow load, so it could have some effects on our garden. But like I said last week, there are some benefits to the cold. That cold, of course, decreases the amount of insect populations as well. Cold will also help us decrease some of the disease that we have in some of our gardens as well. I hope you guys had a fantastic week. As I was mentioning, my weekend has been a busy one. Got to give a shout out to Timber Tours, which is the freestyle skiing event that my son participated, my youngest one did on the weekend. It was a great weekend. Great to see the kids out there and having a good time. And it was great today to see some sunshine. Finally, it has been dark. It has been dreary. And if you are noticing indoors that some of your plants just don't look as vibrant as what they used to, a couple different things. This week, of course, our heaters went on a lot more frequently. So having our furnaces on in our home, that means that our homes become that much drier, lacking humidity. So the occasional misting of plants is really kind of key. But as well, even putting a humidifier into your home, that will be beneficial for your skin and also beneficial for your plants that are there as well. Matthew Amos is giving us a shout out there. Matthew's also letting us know that tomorrow night, Matthew loves it, America's Most Wanted. Well, America's Most Wanted returns tomorrow night. And of course, Matthew, I know it's your birthday tomorrow as well. So happy birthday, guy. And good evening and hello to you as well. We got a little bit of a shout out there from my good friend Sue up in the north, where Sue got slammed this week with snow. Hi, Frank Drake, snow cover in Perry Sound area for the garden beds now. Thanks for sharing my pick on BT. The amount of snow that we saw in some of the snowbelt areas, all due to the winds coming off the Great Lakes. That's what happened into Buffalo as well. That snow load, of course, gives that blanket of color and also that additional moisture when it melts in the spring. Snow is so critical for the survival of many plants that are out there, as well as many beneficial insects as well. So there's some things that we often say, I don't like shoveling snow, but snow can be so beautiful and so beneficial for our gardens too. Okay, I want to share something with you guys because you know what? Maybe you're thinking right now, I just kind of got to figure out what I want to do. Meaning that I have nothing to do in the garden, and I just really am excited, and I really want to think about some things that I maybe can learn. So let's say that you live in the Toronto area. You can go to the Toronto Botanical Gardens website. You can take a look at some of their winter programs and winter workshops as well. Everything from beeswax candle making to even January the 23rd. This is an online event where there's a Rain Gardens 101 workshop, as well as on April the 13th. You can plan ahead and even think about some of the urban beekeeping that's out there. So there's many different events that are there, and we can see that on January the 10th, miniature, small, and large floral design. There's actually a floral design fundamentals program that happens on February the 6th. So there's some great things that are there as well. But let's say as well that you don't live in the Toronto area, and let's say that you live over towards the Halton area. And of course, you probably know one of my favorite things that are in that area, of course, and that is the Royal Botanical Gardens. So the Royal Botanical Gardens also has a lot of upcoming workshops as well that you can see that are posted here. For instance, January the 27th at 9 a.m., Let's Go Birding for Beginners. Birds, amazing indoor garden spaces. Of course, they add color, they add animation, and there's so much wide variety. As a matter of fact, at RBG, they even have a lot of bald eagles in that area. Maybe you're planning on early ideas for March break. There's a March break camp that happens at RBG as well. We have Oaks and Acorns Nature Play Spring Session that happens. It's a 6-week program that goes. So there's many different ones that are out there as well that you can find out. And there's a way for you to register for programs as well. Let's say, though, and that's on RBG's website, let's say that you don't live in those areas, but you do live in the province of Ontario. And you're like, I also want to know what's kind of going on as well when it comes to some of the different events that could be happening in other smaller communities. If you go to Garden Ontario's website, so that's gardenontario.org, and you'll go onto the events, you can see that there are so many different events. Like, of course, there's the Guelph Horticultural Annual General Meeting. There's in Stratford, there's Planting for Biodiversity on February the 5th. We can see on February the 6th, we have a guest speaker that's happening in Richmond Hill, and that is Kevin Kavanagh as well. There's so many different things. Perfectly Imperfect Lawns, that's happening online. That, of course, you can see at 7 o'clock. So there's so many different ways for you at this time of the year. If you're thinking about you want to kind of be inspired and have a little bit of a garden groove going on and you want to learn, there's many different resources that you can have, as well as there's so many different online courses that you can do. And of course, you can join me here every Sunday. So let's see what's going on in the world right now and see what people are saying, what they're asking, and maybe what they're even commenting on. Claudine's giving us a shout out in Ottawa. Hey, Claudine, that is, or Diane. Ottawa, your Rideau Canal, portions of that got open this weekend because it's been cold enough. Christine, my good friend in Prince Edward County, out there in the county, good evening to you as well. Kelly giving us a shout out this evening as well, saying hello. Cheryl, what's Cheryl asking? How do they determine wind chill? Often says wind chill, but there isn't any wind. Okay, so this is where my weather goes. Okay, what we think about with wind chill is I want you to do this as an experiment. If you're watching us right now, or maybe you're listening. So if you're listening, I want you to take your two hands. I want you to face your hands together and try to put them as close as possible without touching. And as soon as you do that, you should be able to feel some warmth. You can even do that with a friend if you were to go. So that warmth that we have surrounding our body is somewhat of our insulating factor. So when we do have a wind chill, and you do need wind for a wind chill, what happens is that wind takes that insulating factor away, and that wind makes us feel colder than what the actual temperature is. So the temperature that would measure on a thermometer, let's say, would be -5, but with a wind that's sitting at around 20 kilometers per hour, that -5 would feel closer to -10 because that wind's taking away that insulating factor. And that's why we always say wind chill or feels. And we'll never put, anytime anybody says it feels like -10, it won't be -10 degrees, it'll be -10. So that's a little bit of weather info. You can ask me weather info as well. And I'll try to do my best to answer it there as well. So we got Jen. Hi, Jen. Hi, Frankie. I have a yucca plant, or a yucca, it'd be yucca, Y-U-C-C-A, that has been displaying some of their tips are brown, like dead ends. What should I do? That's tip burn. So generally when we have tip burn on even corn plants, or if we were to see that on your yucca, that is due to a lack of humidity in the home. Could be two things. If it's a tip burn that looks almost dry and almost yellow to almost a whitish type appearance, if that tip burn though has a little bit of blackness and almost looks like the plant is saturated, then it can be overwatered. But generally the reason why you're getting brown tips at this time of the year is tip burn related to the lack of humidity in your home. So increasing humidity in the home by adding a humidifier. The other thing that you can do with that plant is we could put, let's say that you have a large plate and you were to put small little, almost like aquarium stones on that plate. And we're going to set your yucca plant right on top of that. Then what we'll do is we'll fill the plate with water so that it just kind of doesn't flow over onto our floor, but there's enough water there. As that water evaporates, sometimes it's just enough humidity around your yucca. Another way to create benefit for plants and even adding humidity is when we group plants together. Plants will always grow better when there is a grouping of them. So grouping plants together is always a good idea as well, because as they're evaporating, their soil is evaporating, it creates moisture around them and humidity that is in the air. We got a hello from Drummondville, Quebec, where it's burr, burr, burr. Bonjour. My French is limited, but I think Quebec is one of the most beautiful provinces that are out there. Penny, we give you a big shout out to you as well. We got Kelly this evening, who just turned in all the way from Dominican Republic as I'm on a vacation. I hope you're enjoying the sun that's there. Speaking about vacation, next Sunday evening at 7 o'clock, my hope and ambition will be to join you as long as my Wi-Fi is going to be stable enough, because along with Breakfast Television, and if you don't know, if you're maybe tuning on for the first time, my name's Frank Ferragini, aka Frankie Flowers. Monday through Friday, you can see me on City TV's Breakfast Television, where I'm wild about weather, passionate about plants, and I give you the forecast. But coming up this Saturday, myself, alongside my other host on the show, Devo Brown, we're flying to Jamaica to Sandals, and we're going to Sandals South Shore, and we're actually bringing 10 viewers that are coming with us. And so next weekend, my hope is when you see me here live, I'll be live from Sandals in Jamaica. Yeah. I feel grateful to be able to do that. I get excited about looking at the plant material. The one thing that I know that Jamaica has is what's called a sensitive plant, which is that plant where you touch the leaves and the plant will close. So I know that next year, this coming up for me next weekend, I'll be looking for those to have some fun too. Hi, Frank. Nice to see the sun today. Days are getting longer. Connie, there's so much positive out there as well. It was nice to see the sun. And indeed, every day our days are growing by approximately 2 to 3 minutes in duration in terms of daylight hours. We still have a 24-hour day, but now we just get more sun and more daylight, that is. Samantha, hello. How do I keep my jade plant happy? Got a little jade plant that's right here. You can see jade is actually a plant that's supposed to bring you good luck and fortune. So if you have it around your home, that's why I have it in my office, because I'm trying to make sure that I have good luck and fortune. Really simple plant. First and foremost, they like to be pot bound, so they don't often like to be repotted. Secondly, they are from really a succulent family. So even though they appear to be a green leaf that maybe requires a lot of water, they don't. As a matter of fact, they really tend to like to be on the dry side. And this pot right here is right now, I can tell you, is dry at this moment. Occasional spraying and or misting, that's about it. But 9 times out of 10, the reason why somebody would kill or not do well with the jade is just letting that plant sit too wet for too long. That is also when you're doing a repotting of a jade plant, sometimes it's a good idea to use a cacti soil or even adding a little bit of sand to your potting soil. A good quality Miracle-Gro potting soil is probably the best to use always. But that's about it. Really doesn't need much fertilizer. If you want to fertilize it maybe once a month, if that's the at most. And a lot of the times you can even do it once every other month. But they're pretty simple, pretty easy for you to take care of. We got a shout out from the Niagara region this evening as well, which is Laurel. I know your last name is Bittman, but I'm not going to be able to say your first name right. And I'm sorry. But the Niagara region, of course, did see a significant amount of snowfall. And thanks for joining us this evening as well. We got a good evening as well from Montreal today. Montreal, what a great city that is. Also, what a great city in terms of Quebec as a province, and even Montreal, an investment that they put in towards different events that are garden focused, nature focused, landscape design focused. There's a lot of investment. And if you want to see some great gardens, you need to go to Montreal, Old Quebec City, some of the greatest things as well. Hey, Ashley Brown. Ashley Brown's been joining us on here so many weeks and since really the beginning. Crank and Sprocket is her family's bike shop up in Aurelia. And today, for the first time at Horseshoe Resort, Ashley and myself got to meet each other. Her son works there, and her son came up and said to me, "Hey, how you doing?" and introduced himself and said his mom would be there later this afternoon, and we did it. So good evening. So nice to see you today. Ben had so much fun razzing me all day. Question, my amaryllis has dropped its blooms. How long do I leave it before taking it out for the season and storing it away? Also, congrats on Matheson for his amazing runs today. My son, I'm just going to gloat. First time my son's ever competed, ever. He went and played hockey all his life, and this is his first season of competing, and he placed 4th out of a total. First heat yesterday was 16 kids. He placed 4th. Today he placed 4th again out of 11 kids. So I'm super pleased. So back to amaryllis. So your amaryllis bloom is finished. We want to cut that where the bloom is, that little bit of a stalk. You're going to see when the bloom finishes, all of a sudden you're going to see leaves come out at the base. So we want to, as soon as the leaves come out, we can cut the stalk off where the bloom was on, and we leave the leaves there. As soon as those leaves start to appear to turn yellow, and they start to yellow, that's when we want to remove that bulb out of the soil. The leaves are what's going to bring the energy into the bulb. So the leaves, of course, capturing light, photosynthesis, they're actually gaining energy for the bulb for bloom next year. So we really need those leaves to stay there to give them the nutrients, and even fertilizing. You can use a Miracle-Gro all-purpose fertilizer, and that's going to be key. So then when you go and remove it after the leaves yellow, you're going to remove it out. You're going to try to allow the soil on to dry, even with a paintbrush, dust as much of that soil off. And then we're going to store it in a cool place that's not going to be freezing, but that's going to stay dark as well. Cool and dark is the best place for that to be stored. And then next year, you can plant it in late October, early November, all depending upon the timing of the bloom. We got a nice little shout out here today as well. Hi, Frankie. Have a great coming week. That's from Arlene. Thank you so much. We got a shout out from Eastern Ontario today in Trenton. Lovely Trenton. Ardeth, hey, nice to see you this evening. Nice to hear from you as well. We got a question, I think, from Miss Bittman. Winter sowing. Should I start now with the perennials? Should I do marigolds and geraniums closer to spring? So marigolds, you indeed, the grow time on a marigold in terms of germination and starting indoors, you're going to want to start that guy. It's usually about 6 to 8 weeks before last frost date. So we're really not starting marigolds until about mid-March. You can start early March if you want. Geraniums are better to grow as a cutting if you want to do a zonal. There are seed variety of geraniums. Those seed variety of geraniums, I would start those more towards mid-February. Perennials depends on the perennials. So every pack of seeds that you have will say 4 to 6 weeks from last frost date, 8 to 12 weeks from last frost date. So in order to determine that, and generally we'll just use May 15th as an idea, that's your last frost date. We count back 4 to 6 weeks, and that'll be your sow time. Okay, so for most plants right now, we are early. We are early. Greenhouse production, we are doing some sowing. We have more ability, greater ability, because we have lighting and we actually have more humidity. And also what we're going to be doing with some of the stuff we're starting right now is we're then going to take that and pot it up. So we're going to start it into a plug tray. So sometimes the plug trays are called 512s because there's 512 plants in that seedling tray. Then after we take that and we'll put it over into, let's say, 48, which is 48 plants. So we'll grow it out from there. We may put it into a 4-inch pot, or we may even put it into a 6-inch pot. So a lot of the plants that we're starting now is we want them to be a mature size and blooming for that weekend of May 15th, a lot of them, unless it's pansies, for instance, because pansies, they're pretty frost hardy. So we're starting those earlier because sometimes even at the end of March, people will want or can even plant some pansies, depending upon how the weather will be. I hope that answers your question. Pauline, hi, Frankie. Cactus was in my Christmas arrangement this past Christmas. Now a second or baby cacti is growing. Can I transplant it? Yes, you can. Yes, the arrangement has expired, but I would love to keep the cacti alive. A lot of those Christmas arrangements that you get, and there might be a poinsettia or a Christmas cactus, and you may have a frosty fern in there. Let's say that you may even have some other tropical plants. After Christmas, I would really recommend for you to actually take that and divide the plants up and put them in their own pots. And you can do that with using a good quality potting soil. Like, of course, you're going to hear me say it, Miracle-Gro potting soil, because it is a premium soil. You're going to put them in pots that have drainage, which is really key. And yes, indeed, you can actually take that baby and you can transplant it into a new pot. And I would really recommend for you to separate those pots out as well. Good question as well that's there. We got Mary Stewart that's saying hello. Hi to you as well. We got Matthew, which is giving me a big wow, Frank. I got Sue that's answering questions as well. That's the whole idea. So you're joining us for the first time. Let's just say that. And you're like, hey, this is kind of cool. I'm getting to know some different garden questions. And I have my own questions. So if you have a question, you type it in the comment. If you do that, and maybe I don't get to answering your questions, there's a group of other gardeners that are on here. Sue, of course, she has been running her own garden business for several years. So there's this boatload of brain power on here that actually can help you with your garden questions if I don't get around to answering them. So this whole idea is to bring a community of people together to try to help us through this journey, have some fun, have some smiles, and also even think of spring. So we think of spring, we go from there. Penny's giving a congratulations out for my son, which is great there as well. Joyce got a question. Do you have any bulbs to forage at home for Easter? So do-it-yourself bulbs with baskets from around home. So forcing bulbs. So if we are forcing, and it wouldn't be forage, it would be forcing bulbs. When we're forcing a bulb, that bulb needs to be gone through a dormancy period. So if you're looking for bulbs to force and they're for sale right now, usually they'll say prepared. on the package. And what that means is they've already been gone through their dormancy period. So that means that you can actually just put them in soil, or you can actually even put them just with the bottoms in water sometimes, and we can hydroponically grow them, and they will grow for you. If you do not, or you have bulbs kicking around that you didn't get a chance to planting, you could force them, but what you would have to do is to put them in soil. And if you, let's say, had a cold cellar or a fruit cellar, or as the Italians would say, a cantina, you could put it in that area because it's dark. It's got to sit dark. It's got to sit cool for at least a month or even a little bit more. That will put it through its dormancy period. That will prepare it to then bloom. So it needs to, that dormancy period is that trigger. We got Tracy that's saying, good to see you, Frankie Flowers. It's good to see you as well, Tracy Reynolds. Nice to see you. Yes, indeed. Matthew giving a congratulations to my son, Matheson, as well. We got Julie Green, who's saying, hi, Frank. I think I have some dahlias that I pulled out and threw into my cool, dark basement only last month. Do you think I killed them? Only last month. So if they were, yes. So last month would be December, maybe, because you know what? We didn't have any ground frost, and depends on where you're sending this to me. As long as the root, so the tuber, which is the root of the dahlia, as long as it looks plump and it's firm, and also when you go and you kind of push the soil off, it almost looks like white, then that tubers is live and vibrant, and it will come back around. If by chance it's mushy, or even has a bad odor and or smell, or looks like it's dried out, that's where it will not come back around. Linda, my baby plant gets sticky leaves. What can I do? Often when you get sticky leaves on a plant, that's actually a sign that you have an insect problem. And generally it is. It could be scale, it could even be aphids. And then why the stickiness? Well, the stickiness is a secretion that happens when the insect eats away at your plant. It secretes what's almost like a honeydew, and that's what creates the stickiness. So what I would do to remedy or get rid of the stickiness is I would spray with Bug B Gone, an insecticidal soap like Bug B Gone, and that would get rid of or reduce the amount of insect damage, depending upon if it's scale. And if you look at the stems of your plant, and if you see little bumps on the stems of your plant, that scale is what is causing the issue. And if it's not, sometimes you need to use an alcohol swab to do that. We got Ashley Brown, which is saying amazing out there as well. We got May, greetings from Rosso. I think my son just walked in the house too. Arona, when can I put grass seed down? Well, grass seed needs a germination temperature of almost 12 to 17 degrees, ideally 17 degrees ground temperature. So that's usually going to happen in May, depending upon where you live. So it tends to be more, not early spring. Early spring is almost too cold. It's almost where spring is. So depending upon where you live. So often we need that soil temperature to be at 17 degrees for the seed to germinate. We got Natalie. I'm going to give you guys just 2 seconds here. I'm going to put this on. I'm just going to yell at my son. You guys can see real life here being a dad. Hey, Matt. Oh, I guess he's not here. There you go. I thought I heard him come in. Hi, Frankie from Kinburn, Ontario. We are getting enough cold weather to kill bugs off, i.e. earwigs, etc. Yeah, the cold weather will. Earwigs actually have an ability to, they've lasted for centuries. So they have an ability to overwinter quite well, but their populations will diminish. If you have an issue with earwigs, generally what you have is decaying wood. So let's say that you have a wood pile, and that wood pile has a bunch of almost bark and whatnot sitting around the base that's decaying. That's perfect habitat for earwigs. If you live on the side of a forest, that's a perfect habitat for earwigs. If you even, sometimes if you have mulch is a perfect way. So sometimes to reduce the amount of earwig population, you get rid of that habitat, that home that's for them as well. We got Tracy Reynolds, which is saying for your indoor plant people, January in the cooler months, get air purifying plants in your homes, which is the snake plant, spider plants, pothos. Yeah, this week on Breakfast Television, last week, I did a whole talk on mood boosting plants. And studies have shown that the more plants, actually one study shown that if you have at least 5 plants in a room, that'll actually really be mood boosting and helping you. Even just looking at a plant can actually improve your mood, can actually improve your focus. And even some studies have shown that people that are facing sickness and or injury, when they're in a room with plants, they actually heal quicker. Once again, plants purify the air, add humidity, and as well, that's life. I think seeing at something that, like, we're always here, right? I have my computer in front of me right here. A lot of the times we're looking at these things that are not life. These are living items. Like I have my snake plant right over to my, right there. So I'm surrounded always by my little friends, We got Barb. Barb, who's saying, "Hi, Frankie Flowers. I'm so happy to catch you live. I recently purchased a fig plant at the Barrie Farmers Market. I'm excited about this new plant. Do you have any advice on how to keep it healthy? Thank you." So I'm assuming that the fig plant would be Benjamina ficus, often referred to as a fig or a fiddle leaf. There's the edible fig. The edible fig plants are super easy. At this time, they tend to drop their leaves. They go into dormancy. A lot of the times you can give like an edible fig a really hard pruning. You can even put it down in the cold cellar for a little bit of time and then pop it outdoors as soon as we're frost-free and right. If it is a fig, meaning Benjamina ficus, or even a fiddle leaf fig, we want to allow it to dry out in between water. We want to put it in a room that's going to have bright natural light, but not directly in a window. We want to put it in a location that's not drafty, so not by a door and or by a heating vent. And then a reminder too, give your plants the occasional dusting. Dust the leaves, because if the leaves have dust, a layer of dust on them, they won't be able to breathe as well. They won't be able to take in humidity. And so if we want a healthy plant, we have to clean the leaves. Sometimes we even put our plants in the shower because we can wash them off that way as well. I hope that helps as well. We got Bradley. Yo. Hi, my friend on BT. Nice to see you, Bradley. We got Tracy with another question. I own a flower shop in Toronto Beaches. Happy to support. Oh, where did we go there? I think, I'll answer that question in a little bit of time there. This is just my son. I just got to give a really quick 1 second there. Hey, Matt, I'm just doing my Facebook Live. Can I call you back? Okay, I love you. I'll be done in 2 minutes. Call you in 2 minutes. Bye. There you go. We're live. I own a flower shop in Toronto Beaches. Happy to support answering flowers and indoor plant questions. So Tracy, you know what? That's a hard business. I would really recommend for people out there, for your local flower shops to go in and, we're talking about having plants, but even having a bouquet of flowers at this time of the year, we're in the dark days of winter. And with having a bouquet of flowers I wish we got more in the habit of what they do in the Netherlands. If you go to the Netherlands, everybody, every week, every 3 days, buys some flowers. They buy some flowers. It creates so much happiness. So instead of buying a bottle of wine that's going to give you a hangover, that bottle of wine as well is going to reduce your health. Think about buying some flowers. They're going to last longer than that bottle of wine. And as well, they're going to be beneficial for you as well. We got another hello out there from Angela. Hi, Angela, as well. We got Sherry giving a hello as well. Tracy saying that she's been buying them from my dad for about 25 years. My dad has been at the Ontario Food Terminal since the early 60s. And he's still, give him a hard time next time, Tracy. Give Tony a hard time. No, don't. Give him a big hug for me. Julie Green. I had them in my garage before. So we got some people there answering some different questions out there as well. We got Katie Murphy, and this is probably going to be our last question for the evening because we're at half an hour. Hi, Frankie Flowers. I brought potted lavender plants in late fall. It seems to be bolting, but still has some flowers on it. Any tips to keep it alive until spring? Should I plant it in the garden in the spring? So, Kate, there are so many different varieties of lavender. So even though you think lavender is lavender, there are many different varieties of perennial lavender, and there are some annual lavenders. So I would really want to make sure if it's going to do better in the garden, and when it's planted in the garden, it needs to be in well-drained soil. Actually, they do better in almost a little bit of a rocky soil. They're a Mediterranean plant. But we got to make sure that it's a perennial variety. Right now, when you're trying to keep it overwintered indoors, it's very much like rosemary. So it would really like to be in a room that has bright natural light that gets a little bit cooler at night. That's really, really important for a plant indoors. A lot of the times, allowing our homes to be a little bit cooler at night will help us for sleeping. save on our heating bills, but also that slight drop in temperature, almost about 5 degrees, is really beneficial for plants to rest. And then what I would do is making sure that you're not overwatering it. It's really so vitally important to allow that plant to almost thoroughly dry out. Even let it sit dry for a few days before watering. So let it dry out and let it be dry for a few days, then water. And then at least once a week, give it a misting with just a little misting bottle, some water, and that's it. And then you should be pretty good. So there we go, guys. We're at half an hour for all those questions that we didn't get to. And Bill, I'm sorry that I missed you as well. Bill Kennedy at the Bradford Greenhouses Women's Show, Mother Nature, 5 feet in Buffalo. Big thaw coming this week. Have a good week. I'm sorry you didn't make it there as well. But indeed, go Bills. Go Buffalo Bills. We know that game's happening tonight as well. So for all those that joined me this evening, thank you very much. For those that watch later on during the week, once again, Sunday nights at 7 o'clock, I pop on here to answer your garden questions for a half an hour. And if you have more garden questions, you can always go to my website, frankieflowers.com, and you can always email me, frankie@frankieflowers.com. And once again, watch me live on Breakfast Television, Monday through Fridays on City TV. We'll see you guys tomorrow morning, bright and early. Health and happiness to all, and keep blooming. Have a blooming